Find the zeros of the function f of x equals x squared minus 2x minus 3. When you see the word zeros here, that is the same as saying, where is this function equal to 0? And that's the same as saying solve x squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0, which is a quadratic equation in this case. There are three ways to solve a quadratic equation: factoring, completing the square, and the quadratic formula. Let's try factoring first because that'll be the quickest if it can be factored. Since we have an x squared right here, we try putting an x here and an x here. Since we have a negative 3 right here, we put a 3 and a 1 in those two positions. The way we get our negative 2 right here is to put a negative here and a positive here, and in this case it can be factored. We should double check this by FOIL to make sure that our factored expression is equal to the original, but in this case it is. Now, since we have one thing times another thing is equal to 0, either the first thing is equal to 0 or the second thing is equal to 0, so this becomes x minus 3 equals 0, or x plus 1 is equal to 0. So to solve this first equation here, you add 3 to both sides of the equation. When you add 3 to the left-hand side of the equation, you just get x. When you add 3 to the right-hand side of the equation, you get 3. So there's one of the zeros. Let's see if we can find the other one. Solving this equation right here, the way you solve that equation is you subtract 1 from both sides of the equation. When you subtract 1 from the left-hand side of the equation, you just get x. When you subtract 1 from the right-hand side of the equation, you get negative 1. So x equals 3 and x equals negative 1 are the two zeros of this particular function. We've solved the problem. If you want to double check and see if these are indeed zeros, you can actually take x equals 3 and compute f of 3. And when you do so, you get 3 squared minus 2 times 3 minus 3. 3 squared is equal to 9. 2 times 3 is equal to 6. And 9 minus 6 minus 3 is equal to 0. So it is indeed a 0. And you can double check the second one as well by calculating f of negative 1. This will be negative 1 squared minus 2 times negative 1 minus 3. Negative 1 squared is a positive 1. Negative 2 times negative 1 is the same as plus 2 minus 3. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. So this is also a 0. The two zeros of this particular function are x equals 3 and x equals negative 1.